Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depends on when you're watching this. How about we'll just go with what we like to say here at Shady Acres, hello. Today I thought I'd do a review of my about 8-month-old Jet 1840 EVS lathe. I couldn't find any reviews before I bought it. It is relatively new. I think it's out this year, maybe towards the end of last year, I'm not sure. I did look on YouTube and hadn't seen anyone doing any reviews. So I know there's been a few questions in some of the groups about it, and I thought I'd go ahead and give you my impressions of use that I've had over the past, I think about 8 months, maybe 6 months, something like that. It's a pretty terrific lathe, and I hope what I have to say is of interest to you. So hold on. So here's kind of an overall view of the lathe. It comes packed in 2 cartons, I think. Well, in fact, I guess I don't know that. I bought it from a local dealer that we're fortunate enough to have in this area that sells new equipment for Jet and Laguna and several other brands of equipment. And once in a while they have what they call surplus equipment, which generally turns out to be scratch and dent equipment, something that they got a deal on, so they're able to sell it for a deal as well. The list price on this lathe is what everyone seems to be selling it for, unless it goes on sale. I haven't seen it on sale anywhere. It's $29.99, so $3,000. This dealer had this lathe listed on Craigslist locally for $2,000, and I was kind of holding out for the 1840 DVR, but I hadn't seen anyone have one of those full price or less than full price at all at the time that I bought this. So I thought it was just something that maybe they had announced and hadn't made available yet. And when this one popped up for $1,000 off, there was just no way in the world I could pass it up. The 1840 does come with a good manual, several pages explaining how to assemble it, how to use the accessories, and then they even go into some detail about how to actually use it, chisel position, that sort of thing. So it's a pretty complete book, and it came with this probably what they would call a 3-inch faceplate. It came with this mounted already on the lathe. It actually measures 3 1/4 inches. And this uses a 1 1/4 by 8 spindle size. Comes with an extension for the tool rest, and this is what goes in here and tightens up your tool rest. Came with this was installed when I got it. I don't know if I can get that in focus to read it. It says it's a Jet anti-rotation device. That was mounted under the headstock. Came pre-mounted on the lathe so that the headstock wouldn't turn during shipment. So you take that off and you never have to touch it again unless maybe you move to another location. It also came with this really nice live center, which is just about exactly like my one-way. And I would have gone ahead and used this one, but my wife had just bought me this one-way for Christmas for my previous lathe, and I had already gotten used to using it, but I really don't see much difference there at all. Real similar. And that comes with this bar used to slip it in the hole here, lock the spindle so that you can remove this center. And under that center, let's see if I can do this one-handed. I don't think I can. You have to put this in because that turns so easily, so nicely, that without locking, you can't get this off. So once that's in there, there we go. Once that's in there, now you can unscrew this. And again, it's the same as the one-way. I don't know if it's the same thread size and diameter as the one-way, but that's what it looks like. It's very nice. Very nice. I definitely would be using it if I didn't have the one-way already. And in addition to that, it came with this mounting plate here. You can mount this on either end of the lathe, headstock end or tailstock end, as I've decided to use it. It came with this wrench here, which is what's used to remove the faceplate. This wrench is for my chuck. I already had this. It does come with this long knockout bar. And it came with not this one. And not this one. It came with this live center for the tailstock as well. And it came with this drive center. And I do use that on occasion. The lathe also has a remote stop switch right here. It's got a long cord which I've tucked in here because I don't really intend to move it. This seems like a pretty good location. It's right under the tailstock or right at the end of the lathe. The idea, of course, is if something goes wrong at the headstock end, you don't want to have to come over here and turn off the switch. And I think it's just as convenient there as it would be if it had it mounted here or here. But it can go anywhere. It's on a long cord. It could go even further away if you wanted. So let's move to the headstock and talk about that. I made a couple of notes because I know I'm going to forget what I need to talk about. It has a 2-position belt for 2 speed ranges. This cover is held in by a magnet, and it stays up out of your way when you need to. So the 2 speed ranges are 40 to 1200 and 100 to 3200. I have not changed the speed on here. It came on the 100 to 3200, and that's pretty much exactly where I need it to be. You can actually set the 100, you can actually set this down to about 86 is about as low as I've got it to go. Super sensitive dial, we'll talk about that in a minute. But 86, I have no idea why I would ever need to turn as low as 40. I understand why you might want to, but I've turned, this is an 18-inch lathe, which will actually swing 18.5 inches on here. And I've turned, I think, about 16.5 inches is the largest I put on there. And it was out of balance, and I still didn't have any issues at all. No need to shift below 100 RPM. I think I probably turned that piece, probably started out at around 400. The lathe is quite stable. It comes with a shaft lock here. See if I can do this one-handed. I don't think so. But what you do, rotate this until this button goes into position, goes all the way in, and then you slide this down to lock it. I must be real close. I can't get it one-handed, but you get the idea. This will slide down, hold that button in for you, and then this won't rotate. That has 2 positions, only 2, and they're 180 degrees apart. So if you need to do something, you know, maybe it'll lock here, and then it's going to come all the way around and lock here. That's the only 2. In addition to that, it does have an indexing facility right here. This will, you just push this in, hold that in while you rotate this, and then you can lock that in place. and that gives you, I think the positions are every 10 degrees. I'm not certain about that. It's pretty easy to use when you actually have two hands to do it. So sometimes I'll use that if I need to loosen this set screw on my chuck, and if I want to use the spindle lock, and sometimes the set screw will be over there. Once in a while I'll use this because it is a more fine position and allows me to lock this wherever I would want it to be. I think you can use either. This is not going to be as strong as this is. This is a big pin that goes in there. I don't know if I can show it to you. I don't know if there's enough light in there to see it, but it's a... Oh, there, it actually went in. What do you know? So it's locked now. There's a big pin. Let's see if this light will help. There we go. There it is. So then if we rotate that around another 180 degrees, there's a second chance to lock that. So you can see that that is quite stable. Whereas this little indexing pin up here, see if I can get just a little more light in there. There we go. This pulley has holes. I think, like I said, I think it's every 10 degrees. Well, what do we got? We got 36 positions, so 360 degrees. Yeah, I guess that'd be every 10 degrees. So you can, I don't know how you find position 1. I see position 1 there. I don't know. I haven't used this. I'm not sure I will ever have a use for it. But there it is, locked in position 1 for whatever good that does you. I'm not sure. I understand what they're used for. I just haven't had the need. That pretty well covers that part of it. The headstock does slide along the bedways. Slides all the way down to the end. You can take your tailstock off, take your tool rest off, slide that all the way down here. Then what you would do, I guess, is get a bed extension or an outboard turning extension, which I believe the bed extension would go here. But I think if you were going to do outboard turning, I think it actually mounts down here. And that allows the tool rest to be mounted down at this level. Maybe it goes here, I'm not certain. And that would allow you to have tool rest support and turn something as big as from this area down to the floor, I guess. Be pretty big. I'll never be doing that. Now I said here's the speed control, and it's pretty slick. Let me get some of the light off of there so that you can see the speed dial, nice and large, easy to read, going 339 RPM there. The problem to me, this is one of the things I don't like about it, but it's not that big a deal at all. But this is super sensitive. Sometimes after I've turned and I want to clean up everything, I'll vacuum off. If you bump this, you change the speed. If you blow air on it, like this, we're turning at 379 there. You can actually, look at that, 245. You can actually change the speed with air pressure. That's how sensitive that is. So I wish what it had, I suppose it would cost $4 more and wouldn't be worth it to them. I wish it had detents for every, I don't know, 10 degrees or something. Maybe every 1 degree, I don't know. It would be really nice if it did, because once in a while, you know, you're in here working and you bump that with your elbow or something and you've changed the speed. Hit it with a vacuum cleaner hose. Anything can change that speed. So I wish it had detents. It doesn't. I can live with it. It works very well. I'm really happy with it. This also has reverse Just a simple flip of the switch or going the other direction. You got the same speed control in reverse as you do in forward. You have to be sure that your chuck, if you're going to be turning in reverse, and I always switch it off of reverse just in case I forget. If you're going to be turning in reverse, you need to be able to tighten a set screw right here, and they've provided a provision on the shaft for that set screw to fit into. There's a flat spot there, and that's important because when you're turning in reverse, it could possibly cause the chuck to come off, and that would be not a good thing. So be sure you get an adapter for your lathe that has a set screw if you're going to be turning in reverse. Very important. Other than that, reverse works terrific. The speed control works terrific. You can set it wherever you like. Let's see. There's 93 RPM. That clicking you hear is actually my chuck, and it's just the slides because it's not locked into place. They're just clicking as it turns that slow. Click, 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 click. If I turn up the speed a little bit, it goes away. Centrifugal force pushing them out, I guess. In order to change the belts, we'll get back to that for a second. You release this lever here, loosen it, take a hold of this, lift up the motor, which lifts this shaft here, provides slack in the belt, and you can move it to this position for your 40 to 1200 RPM speed range. I just don't see any reason to ever go that low. I don't think I'll ever take it off of where it is. It has a hand wheel here. I would prefer a larger one, but with the motor right there, you can see you couldn't go too much larger. You'd be catching your fingers under here. It actually works quite well. I don't have any real problem with it. It's fine. And I do use it all the time. It's just that my old lathe had a, I don't know, 5 or 6 inch wheel on here that seemed to be a little more comfortable, but this works just great. It's not an issue. It turns real easily. This is the lock for the headstock. You loosen this, you push it down when you want to slide the headstock along the bedways, or, well, that's what it's for. It's to lock it in positions from sliding. And then this knob here, you loosen this and then pull out on it, and that releases a lock mechanism. See if I can show you that. You can see, you see those little grooves in there? This is a pin that fits into those grooves, so you can turn the headstock. I'm not sure how many positions. Several. Looks like at least 5 or 6. And lock it at different angles. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at my notes here, see if I'm forgetting anything. The tailstock. We'll move to the tailstock. And it's a nice tailstock. Oh, maybe we'll cover this first, since I got my hand on it. So here's your tool rest. It's a 14-inch tool rest. I think it has about a 4.5 inch, 1 inch diameter post. Slides in and out of there real easy. Easy to adjust if you have a second hand to tighten this up. Not much pressure, it's tight. Not much pressure, the banjo's tight. Works really well. There's quite a bit of travel here. I told you I turned a 16-inch piece. I didn't need to add anything. This was able to reach all the way out here. Again, hard to slide with one hand, but you get the idea. It was able to reach all the way out here where I needed it to for my turning. So I did not need to add this accessory that came with it. And I probably never will need to. What I don't like about this, is when you loosen this and pull this out, inside here is two, probably an odd angle, sorry about that, these two pieces that move. Well, sometimes if you take your tool rest out and to put in another one, or even put that one back in, these will be out of place and it won't slide in. Well, of course that time it did. But sometimes it just won't. It just won't slide in. So you have to kind of monkey around with this to get it lined up to where it has the full 1-inch opening, and we'll let that come in, let the tool rest come in there. It's a small thing. There's actually 2 set screws here that I can't find mentioned anywhere in any manual what to do with them. So I went ahead and tightened them up, and what they do is they do hold those 2 in position, and that's terrific, and then it's real easy to slide this in and out anytime you want to. But if you tighten those up, they need to slide to provide tension on the tool rest shaft post, and if those are too tight, then they can't slide and you won't get any tightness. So I'm not sure what the point of those is. I did tighten them up slightly more than they were, and it does actually stay somewhat better condition or better position than it does when before I tighten them, but that's what we got for now. It's not a big issue. For the banjo, you've got this large knob that can tighten, or large lever that can tighten either direction, which comes in nice when you're over here too close to where you can't tighten it up. You can always come this way, and that's nice. So, let's see. This was all painted black, and first couple of uses with it, it got all scratched up and whatnot. And of course it is soft, it's cast iron, relatively soft, so you have to file this every once in a while or hit it with some sandpaper to smooth this out. So I went ahead and just took a file and cleaned most of that paint off of there. But I do find that after a lot of use, there is some small, just small little scratches in here. So just a quick couple of passes with a file will take care of that. No big deal. So I think that covers this pretty well. I'll move to the tailstock now. You've got a lever behind that unlocks it to slide anywhere you want. Raise it up to lock it. It's very, very stable. You've got of course, you got the tailstock ram here. And this has 4 and I think 4 1/4 inches of travel, more than I'll ever use. My old lathe had 2 inches of travel, and I seldom even use that. And the reason is, it just seems like if you extend this out here 4 1/4 inches, I'm not sure how long this is. Let's see. Well, it's 6 inches or so. So that's only going to leave like 1.5 inches or something of this in here. And if this is under a lot of tension out here holding up the end of a bowl or whatever, that's just too dang far. So I've kind of set a limit for myself. I won't go out there more than about 3 inches, which is plenty of travel. 4 1/4 is really nice to have, but I think I'd be uncomfortable using all of it. It does have, I see I need to clean that up a little bit. It does have some nice laser etched measurements in here so that you can tell exactly how far out you're coming. And that's terrific. But I don't know if you've ever noticed this, the number 2 Morse taper on this particular live center, the one-way, is a little longer than it is on the one that came with it. or on other typical. See, this is really short. Look how short that is. That's really short, even compared to this one. Quite a bit shorter. So what that does is it throws off how much you can actually get out of this. Well, let me put it this way. I really need to change hands, but we'll make this work. With a longer Morse taper in there, like this one is, you cannot retract this to 0 without ejecting it. It does have an automatic eject. That's as far back as it'll go. It's hit the end of it before I eject it. So you're actually losing, I don't know, maybe 3/8 of an inch there. And that's fine, as long as you're aware of it, that's fine. If I were to put in the shorter one, it does come all the way back to 0. But why use that when you have this? So this is what I use, and I'll just live with it. Now, there isn't much I don't like. I mentioned a couple of things. This is, I think, the third thing that I don't love. When you do want to auto-eject this, your live center, in turning this, it comes to a stop, and the handle's over there. Maybe this is repositionable. Maybe I should find out. But it's over there, and it's awkward to apply any upward pressure. And this time it's pretty easy because I guess I didn't slide this in there hard. But if you extend this a little bit, slide that in there really hard, and now try and eject it, it's awkward. It's awkward. There's no way, you know, I'm doing it left-handed. Maybe you're left-handed, and that's great. I'm not. I don't have much leverage this way. I can't really come over here that well either. I can, and I will. But you really got to turn that to eject this. I wish it was, I don't know, somehow a little smoother. I'm not sure what they could do. Maybe they couldn't do anything, and maybe that's why it is the way it is. I can live with it. It's not that big a deal. So I don't love this, but it's okay. I can live with it. I don't love this. It's okay. I can live with it. I wish this had detents. Other than that, this is one terrific lathe. Has all the power. It's a 2 horsepower. See if I can get a close-up of the label here. It's a 2 horsepower motor on it. Plugs into a 220 outlet that looks a lot like this. There's the plug there. I hope I'm not out of focus. I'm sorry if I am. But 2 flat blades and 1 round. They do recommend that you, if your area is susceptible to lightning strikes, they recommend you unplug it, because you can do damage to the electronics, maybe even the motor, I'm not sure. So we're not susceptible to lightning strikes, but if I happen to hear that, hey, maybe we'll get some lightning tonight or something, I will unplug it. I generally don't. If you don't unplug it, this light stays on 24/7, never goes off. So that's just something for you to keep in mind. I believe that's typical. Oh, here's one more thing I don't like. This is really small, but it's just irritating. They put this nice rubber mat up here on this nice flat spot. Again, when I blow air on here to clean this off, clean the dust off after sanding or whatever, invariably this will pick up and land over here or something, or sit that way and drive my OCD crazy. The only reason these 2 little screws here are here for is to fit into that slot. That's all they do. So that keeps that into position. unless of course air comes up under it. So I don't know, I've thought about taking that off of there altogether, but it looks kind of nice with it there. I don't ever put anything there. If I took this off, I could put maybe a magnetic bowl up here or something to hold all of what, I don't know. I don't really deal in little tiny pieces. I know a lot of guys use this area on their headstock, and that's terrific. I haven't found the need to, so right now I'm just irritated that it blows up every once in a while. But those are really small irritations. When I brought this home, they loaded it up for me. It was a floor model. It was the only one they had. It was damaged in shipping, they said. That's why it was $1,000 off. The only damage anywhere on this machine is right there. That little bit of corner of that label torn off saved me $1,000. And I'll do that any day, all day long. So I had the two cast iron legs, which are, I can't remember, something like maybe 80 pounds each. And then I had the bed. This was off, this was off, this was off. And that's the main pieces right there. So I brought them home, called my son-in-law, he came up, and we had it together in an hour, I suppose. Wasn't that big a deal. The hardest part, of course, is standing up the legs, getting them to stay standing up while you attach the two bolts, one on each side. I don't know if you can see inside here, but they come up from underneath and screw into this area right here. So one over there, one over here, same thing down here. And then you have your base. Then you ask your son-in-law to pick up the very heavy headstock and slide that on. Slide this on. Slide this on. Plug it in. You're ready to rock. So there you go. That's my review of the Jet 1840 EVS. It's a terrific lathe. I don't really have any big issues with it. There was 2, 3, 4 smaller items that I wish worked differently, but they don't, and I'm very pleased with the lathe. I don't think anybody's ever 100% satisfied with anything, but I'm about as close as you can get. It's a terrific lathe. If you can find one for a good price, please pick it up. I think you'll like it. Well, I don't get anything if you do pick it up, but for your own benefit, I think you'll really enjoy the lathe. It's quiet. I don't know, can you hear that? Runs quiet, sweet, smooth. It's just a terrific piece of equipment. If you like this review, please say so. Thumbs up. If you don't like it, please say so. Thumbs down. But if you give it a thumbs down, please tell me why so that I can improve my videos. I do plan on shooting videos of some actual wood turning here pretty soon on a semi-regular basis, hopefully at least once a week or so. I'm a retired guy, so I've got a lot of time on my hands. I've got quite a bit of wood to deal with, and I hope that we can become a regular thing, you and me. Thanks for watching. From Shady Acres, I'm Phil. Take care of yourself. Bye.